What if I told you that hidden in the folds of ancient history lies a text, one that could shatter everything you've been told about Christianity, spiritual awakening, and the true path to divine knowledge? A gospel, not written by the apostles we know, but one that carries the voice of Jesus himself, unfiltered and raw. A gospel so dangerous, so profound, that it was intentionally excluded from the Bible, its words suppressed by the very institutions that have shaped our faith for centuries. This is not a story of rebellion or heresy. It is the story of the Gospel of Thomas, a collection of sayings attributed to Jesus, yet it was banned, buried, and rejected by the early church. But why? What secrets does this ancient text hold that still frighten the powerful institutions of today? In this video, we'll embark on a journey to uncover the mystery of why the Gospel of Thomas was silenced and erased from history. We will delve into the spiritual and philosophical truths contained within its pages, truths that challenge the very foundations of religious doctrine, pushing us to reconsider everything we've been taught about enlightenment, self-realization, and the divine. The Gospel of Thomas contains no grand narrative or dramatic storylines. Instead, it offers us something far more intimate, a profound collection of teachings that echo the deeper, esoteric wisdom of ancient traditions. Some of the teachings are cryptic, others are radical, but they all carry a singular message: the path to awakening is within, and it begins with understanding the mysteries of the self. As we peel back the layers of history and philosophy, you'll learn why the Gospel of Thomas was regarded as too dangerous to be included in the canon, and why its message continues to resonate with truth seekers, mystics, and scholars to this very day. To truly understand why the Gospel of Thomas was banned, we must first journey back to a time long before the canonical Gospels of the New Testament were solidified. This was a period when Christianity was still malleable, fluid, and full of diverse interpretations. The early church was not yet the monolithic institution we know today. Instead, it was a labyrinth of competing ideas, each seeking to define the nature of Christ, the path to salvation, and the relationship between humanity and the divine. But during this time, another path was quietly emerging, a path that was deeply mystical, intensely personal, and focused on the inner sanctum of the self. It was a path of gnosis, the direct, experiential knowledge of God. This path was not about external rituals or dogma. It was about inner illumination, awakening the divine spark within, and seeing the world as it truly is beyond the veil of illusion. In the 2nd century CE, this path was best exemplified by the teachings found in the Gospel of Thomas, a gospel believed to be written by Didymus Judas Thomas, one of the 12 apostles. But what makes this text so radically different from the familiar gospels we find in the Bible? It doesn't follow the narrative style of Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. There is no birth story, no passion narrative, no crucifixion or resurrection. Instead, it offers 114 sayings of Jesus, each one a cryptic, profound piece of wisdom designed to awaken the individual's spiritual potential. This gospel stands apart because its teachings emphasize self-realization and inner transformation over the traditional external salvation narrative. "The kingdom of God is within you," says Thomas, echoing a message that resonates with the mysticism of Eastern philosophies such as Buddhism and Taoism. This was not a Jesus offering salvation through faith alone, but a Jesus who pointed to a deeper, more esoteric truth, that the kingdom of heaven is a state of consciousness, accessible only to those who seek it within themselves. The early church was not fond of this message. The nascent Christian orthodoxy, which was beginning to take shape under the influence of figures like Emperor Constantine and the councils of Nicaea, sought unity and order. To create a single, unified narrative of salvation, it needed to suppress any teachings that threatened its authority. The Gospel of Thomas, with its emphasis on individual enlightenment and self-discovery, was seen as a threat to the institutional control of the Church. It undermined the growing power of the ecclesiastical hierarchy, which relied on centralized authority, doctrine, and ritual for its influence over the masses. But the suppression of the Gospel of Thomas did not occur overnight. It was a gradual, deliberate process, beginning with the establishment of orthodoxy in the 4th century and continuing through centuries of religious conflict. By the time the Bible as we know it was canonized in the 5th century, the Gospel of Thomas had already been relegated to the realm of heresy. It was excluded from the official canon and condemned as a text promoting Gnostic ideas, a term that would later be used to categorize all teachings that focused on esoteric knowledge over faith-based salvation. Yet, despite this systematic effort to bury the Gospel's teachings, it didn't disappear. In 1945, a group of Egyptian farmers stumbled upon a remarkable discovery near Nag Hammadi, an ancient cache of manuscripts that would later be known as the Nag Hammadi Library. Among these texts was the Gospel of Thomas, preserved for centuries in obscurity, waiting to be rediscovered by modern scholars and spiritual seekers. This revelation was like opening a door to an alternate version of Christianity, one that had been suppressed for nearly 2 millennia. The rediscovery of the Gospel of Thomas raised the question, what if the truths it contains were the original teachings of Jesus, and what if those teachings had been suppressed to control the masses, to create a religion of obedience rather than spiritual freedom? Now, as we stand on the threshold of this forgotten wisdom, the challenge before us is to explore not just the historical significance of this gospel, but the deeper philosophical questions it raises. What does it mean to seek God within? How can we interpret these ancient teachings in the context of our modern lives? And what can we learn from this suppressed gospel that could help us awaken to our own divine potential? Now that we've set the stage with the historical and philosophical context, it's time to delve deeper into the heart of the Gospel of Thomas itself. What lies beneath the surface of its enigmatic sayings? What makes it so revolutionary, and why was it considered a threat to the emerging orthodoxy of the Church? The first thing that strikes you when reading the Gospel of Thomas is its radical simplicity. Unlike the narrative-driven Gospels we're familiar with, which paint a picture of Jesus as a figure who interacts with the world and performs miracles, Thomas presents a much more introspective vision of the Christ. It is less about the external acts of salvation and more about the internal journey of awakening. One of the central themes of the Gospel of Thomas is the idea that the kingdom of God is within you. This phrase, found in Saying 3, echoes the ancient esoteric understanding that divinity is not something external, a faraway God to be worshipped or appeased. Instead, it is an intimate part of our very being, hidden within the depths of our consciousness. This teaching is not just a theological assertion, but a call to self-realization. The kingdom does not come through waiting for a divine event or future salvation. It is already present within us, waiting to be discovered. To understand this, consider the metaphor of the seed. In ancient wisdom traditions, the seed is often used as a symbol of hidden potential. The Gospel of Thomas presents Jesus as the one who points to the seed within, urging us to recognize the divine essence that lies dormant inside. This is not about belief in some external deity, but about recognizing our own divine nature and awakening to the truth of who we truly are. Another powerful teaching in the Gospel of Thomas is found in saying 22, which reads, "When you make the two one, and when you make the inside like the outside, and the outside like the inside, and the above like the below, and when you make the male and the female one and the same, so that the male will not be male, and the female will not be female, then you will enter the kingdom." This profound statement speaks to the idea of inner unity, transcending duality, and recognizing the interconnectedness of all things. At the heart of this saying is the alchemical idea of uniting opposites, the masculine and feminine, the above and the below, the inside and the outside. In esoteric traditions, this unity represents the fusion of the material and spiritual worlds, where the distinctions between form and essence, heaven and earth, dissolve. It is a call to integrate all parts of the self, recognizing that true spiritual enlightenment comes not from escaping the world, but from transforming it. The kingdom of God is found in the harmony of opposites, in the balance and integration of all aspects of existence. This concept of unity is also seen in the Gospel of Thomas's rejection of conventional religious structures. While the canonical Gospels often depict Jesus as a figure performing miracles and offering salvation through faith, Thomas presents him as a teacher who points toward the hidden wisdom within each individual. In saying 70, Jesus says, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." This statement is a direct challenge to the external salvation model. It shifts the responsibility for spiritual awakening from the church, the priesthood, or even the sacrament of baptism, to the individual seeker. Salvation, in the Gospel of Thomas, is not a gift bestowed from the outside, it is something we must awaken from within. In essence, the Gospel of Thomas is a call to self-mastery, a guide to unlocking the divine potential that lies within each of us. Its teachings transcend the need for intermediaries. There are no priests or rituals to perform, no dogma to follow. Instead, it is an invitation to explore the depths of our own consciousness, to realize our own divine nature, and to awaken to the eternal truth that resides within. But why was such a radical message seen as a threat? Why did this internal path to enlightenment, so deeply rooted in individual experience, seem so dangerous to the early church? As we continue, we'll explore how these teachings challenged not only religious institutions, but also the very social and political structures of the time. The Gospel of Thomas is more than a mystical document, it is a spiritual manifesto that threatens the very foundations of institutional religion. Its message is dangerous not because it blasphemes, but because it liberates. It removes the veil of authority and places divine power back where it belongs, within the individual. And that, perhaps more than anything, is why it was banned. To understand the true threat the Gospel of Thomas posed, we must look beyond theology and into the realm of power. In the early centuries of Christianity, spiritual authority was becoming centralized. Bishops were rising as intermediaries between God and man. Councils were determining which texts were acceptable and which were heretical. Doctrine was being codified, and salvation was becoming something mediated through the church. Heaven was no longer a state of consciousness, but a reward granted by an external institution, through sacraments, allegiance, and obedience. And then there was Thomas. Saying after saying, this gospel pulls the curtain back on the illusion of external control. It does not describe a Jesus who died for your sins. It does not tell you to follow a creed. It does not offer a road to salvation paved by belief. Instead, it offers riddles, paradoxes, and keys to inner transformation. In saying 2, Jesus declares, "Let him who seeks continue seeking until he finds. When he finds, he will become troubled. When he becomes troubled, he will be astonished, and he will rule over the all." This is not the path of comfort, but the path of awakening. The seeker must endure discomfort, must be troubled, shaken from sleep, cracked open, and made new. Only then can they glimpse the hidden reality beneath the illusion of this world. This echoes the teachings of ancient mystery schools, Hermetic traditions, and Eastern mysticism, all of which emphasize personal gnosis over passive belief. Even more striking is saying 1:13, where the disciples ask Jesus about the coming of the kingdom. His response is shattering: "The kingdom of the Father is spread out upon the earth, and men do not see it." In one sentence, centuries of theological promise are deconstructed. The kingdom is not coming. It is here, now. But because we are blind, trapped in illusion, lost in ego, we cannot see it. This teaching aligns closely with the concept of Maya in Hindu philosophy, the world of illusion that veils the true nature of reality. It also mirrors the Zen Buddhist idea of Satori, a sudden awakening to the truth that has always been present. The Gospel of Thomas is not just Christian, it is universal. It taps into the perennial wisdom found in all esoteric traditions, that truth is not taught, but discovered, not given, but realized. And this universality posed a problem for the emerging Christian orthodoxy. If the truth of Christ could be found outside the church, through direct experience, inner work, and mystical insight, what then was the role of the clergy? Of dogma? Of centralized power? This was not just a spiritual conflict. It was political. In a world where religion and empire were becoming one, where Rome was aligning itself with Christian doctrine to unify its territories, the Gospel of Thomas was a heretical time bomb. It spoke of no resurrection, no end times, no ecclesiastical authority. It spoke instead of sovereignty, personal, spiritual sovereignty. Consider saying 77, "I am the light that is over all things. I am all, from me all came forth, and to me all attained. Split a piece of wood, and I am there. Lift up the stone, and you will find me there." This is panentheism, the belief that the divine is in all things, and all things are in the divine. Not confined to a church, not caged in a holy book, but present in every atom of existence. This is the Christ of the mystics, not the Christ of empire. Is it any wonder, then, that this gospel was hidden? That its words were deemed dangerous? That it was sealed away in a desert cave for over 1,000 years? Even now, its teachings are unsettling. They strip away the comfort of external answers and challenge us to look inward, into the mirror of our own soul. They do not promise salvation as a gift, but as a task, a transformation earned through fire, silence, and the relentless pursuit of truth. As we transition into the next section, we'll explore how this profound inner journey can actually be applied in our lives today. The Gospel of Thomas isn't just a relic of the past, it's a spiritual manual for those brave enough to seek the light within. The Gospel of Thomas may have been hidden, suppressed, and even silenced, but its teachings are not merely academic relics of a bygone era. They are an invitation to experience something far more intimate, something tangible and transformative in our own lives today. So, how can we, living in the modern world, apply the profound teachings of this ancient gospel to awaken the hidden kingdom within? Embrace the inner journey, self-realization over external salvation. The first step in applying the wisdom of Thomas is to shift your mindset from seeking salvation outside of yourself to seeking it within. The Gospel of Thomas is not about waiting for divine intervention or following prescribed rituals to attain heaven. It teaches that salvation is already within us, but it requires personal effort to bring it forth. Take a moment each day to sit in stillness, close your eyes, and listen to the still, small voice within you. This inner silence is the kingdom, the place where the divine resides. The teachings of Thomas suggest that, just as a seed holds the potential of a great tree, so too do we hold the potential for enlightenment. But this potential will only come to fruition if we are willing to cultivate it. Practice. Begin a daily meditation or contemplative practice, where you focus on your breath and let go of external distractions. Ask yourself, what truth lies within me that I have not yet discovered? In the quiet, let your heart open to the deeper reality hidden beneath the surface of your thoughts. Transcend duality, embrace unity and integration. The Gospel of Thomas calls us to transcend the illusion of duality, the belief that there is a division between the sacred and the profane, the spiritual and the material, the male and the female. Jesus' words, when you make the two one, speak to the profound power of integration. To awaken spiritually, we must unite the opposites within us, our light and shadow, our masculine and feminine qualities, our body and soul. In daily life, this means recognizing that every part of you, the good and the bad, the holy and the sinful, has a place in your journey toward wholeness. Stop compartmentalizing your existence. Instead, learn to embrace all aspects of who you are. Practice. Identify areas in your life where you feel divided. Perhaps you judge yourself for certain emotions or actions. Bring those parts of yourself into acceptance. In your journal, write down your perceived weaknesses or dark traits and reframe them as parts of your unique path to wholeness. Embrace them with compassion and love. This practice of integration is a step toward the awakening that Thomas speaks of. Seek the kingdom within, a quest for personal gnosis. The Gospel of Thomas places a heavy emphasis on personal gnosis, or direct, experiential knowledge of the divine. It is not enough to read books or listen to teachers. You must know the truth yourself. This gnosis is not theoretical, it is something to be felt, experienced, and lived. How do you seek this inner knowledge? You do so by questioning the reality you perceive and going deeper into the mysteries of existence. The kingdom is not some faraway place, it is within you. It is accessible not through blind faith, but through a process of direct knowing. Practice. Engage in contemplative inquiry. Ask yourself probing questions like, what is the nature of the self, or what is the nature of God? Do not expect immediate answers, but rather stay open to the mysteries that arise. As you contemplate, write down your insights and let them guide you toward deeper understanding. The more you allow yourself to experience, rather than intellectualize, the closer you will get to the gnosis that Thomas speaks of. Live with the awareness of oneness, seeing God in all things. Saying 77 in the Gospel of Thomas tells us that the divine is everywhere, in every aspect of existence. Lift up the stone, and you will find me there. The Christ consciousness is not confined to churches, temples, or holy scriptures. It is embedded in every particle of the universe. To truly awaken is to see this divine presence in everything around us. This understanding can radically shift how we interact with the world. Instead of viewing nature, people, and even mundane objects as separate from the divine, we begin to see the interconnectedness of all things. This awareness transforms our relationships, our work, and even our daily tasks into spiritual practices. Practice. Start seeing the divine in everything. Take a walk in nature and connect with the life around you. When you look at a tree, a stone, or the sky, pause for a moment and acknowledge that the divine is in all of it. When interacting with people, try to see beyond their external personas and recognize the deeper soul within them. This shift in perception will help you embody the teachings of Thomas and bring you closer to the kingdom. Walk the path of inner transformation, the journey of becoming. Perhaps one of the most profound elements of the Gospel of Thomas is its focus on personal transformation. Jesus says, "When you find the treasure, you will be troubled. When you become troubled, you will be astonished, and you will rule over the all." The path of awakening is not always easy. It requires us to confront our deepest fears, doubts, and illusions. But in the process, we are transformed. This transformation does not happen overnight. It is a lifelong journey of shedding layers of false identity, of recognizing the ego's traps, and of waking up to the truth that has always been there, waiting within. Practice. Recognize that personal transformation often involves discomfort. Set an intention to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. When you face difficulty, instead of avoiding or resisting it, ask yourself, what is this situation teaching me about myself? Over time, these trials will become catalysts for your spiritual evolution. As we come to the end of this exploration, remember that the teachings of the Gospel of Thomas are not merely historical curiosities. They are practical tools for personal and spiritual transformation. By embracing the inner journey, transcending duality, seeking personal gnosis, and living with the awareness of oneness, we can awaken to the kingdom within us all. And with that, I leave you with this thought. What if the path to awakening was never about looking outward, but about looking within? As we conclude this journey through the Gospel of Thomas and the profound truths it unveils, we find ourselves standing at the threshold of a timeless mystery. What if everything we have been taught about salvation, about God, and about the divine, was only a small part of a much greater truth, one that calls us to look within, to awaken the hidden kingdom inside us, and to realize our own divine nature? The Gospel of Thomas teaches us that the true path to spiritual awakening does not lie in the external rituals or doctrines of organized religion, but in the personal, direct experience of the divine. It is an invitation to go beyond belief and into the realm of knowing. It challenges us to transcend duality, to see the interconnectedness of all things, and to recognize that the divine is not something to be worshipped at a distance, but something that dwells within us all. This is not an easy path. The journey of self-realization is not one of comfort or certainty, but of continuous transformation, challenge, and inner discovery. It is a path that requires courage, commitment, and the willingness to face the deepest parts of ourselves. But it is also the most rewarding path, one that leads not to external rewards, but to an inner peace and understanding that surpasses anything the material world can offer. As you reflect on the teachings of the Gospel of Thomas, I encourage you to ask yourself, what truths lie hidden within me, waiting to be uncovered. How can I awaken to the kingdom that is already within me? And most importantly, what steps can I take today to begin living with greater awareness of the divine that permeates every part of my life? Remember, this gospel was hidden for centuries, its truths suppressed by forces seeking to control and define the path to salvation. But now, in the modern world, its teachings are available to us once more. The question is not whether we have access to this wisdom, but whether we are willing to seek it, embrace it, and let it transform our lives. If you have felt the spark of curiosity ignite within you, I invite you to continue exploring, questioning, and diving deeper into the mysteries of existence. The journey of awakening is ongoing, and there is always more to discover. If you found this exploration valuable, I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below, engage with others on this topic, and perhaps most importantly, take the time to reflect on the teachings of Thomas. Let them guide you on your path to self-realization, and remember, the kingdom is already within you. The hidden wisdom of the Gospel of Thomas is waiting for you. Will you heed the call to awaken?